in a completely shocking turn of events, which is to say, a turn of events that is not shocking at all. The hand-picked board of the Kennedy Center, which is to say, the board that Donald stocked with sycophants and bootlickers, has voted, according to Donald, unanimously to rename the Kennedy Center after him, which is funny for many reasons, but also technically impossible because it's illegal. The board can't do that. But of course, Donald acted completely surprised by this honor bestowed upon him. He literally said, quote, "I was honored by it. The board is a very distinguished board, most distinguished people in the country. I was surprised by it. I was honored by it," unquote. What he forgot to mention is how much he paid for it. But we know, as I said, that the board is handpicked by him after he made himself chairman of the board. Also, not that this is really matters all that much because nothing seems to matter anymore. It was not a unanimous vote because one person, at least on the board, this would be Representative Joyce Beatty of Ohio, a Democrat, said that she was in this meeting via Zoom. The renaming of the Kennedy Center was not on the meeting agenda, so it took her completely by surprise. And when she voiced concerns, they muted her because the United States of America is being run by a bunch of prepubescent bullies. So it isn't surprising that this happened today in the wake of what was a completely disastrous address to the American people last night. Unfortunately, outlets like the New York Times continue to do Donald's work for him. The Times described Donald's remarks last night as bellicose and combative. His remarks were neither one of those things. That implies some kind of strength, right? Some kind of clear power and energy. Donald's remarks were those of a deeply disturbed, addled little man who is delusional. So, of course, he needed something, anything, to help assuage his narcissistic wound, because even he must have known just how bad that sort of speech was last night. So great, Donald. You get another building with your name plastered all over it. Yep. I mean, again, the irony, of course, and this is the part that sickens me, because the Kennedy Center once was an actual institution that honored the arts, that honored artists. Donald desecrates the arts and artists, so it is a bitter irony. But it isn't going to last. And I think sometimes we need to hang on to that. It is in the moment demoralizing at times. It is infuriating always. It feels like there is nothing standing between the depredations of the Trump regime and basic human decency. It feels like we're losing every battle. I get it. This week in particular has been utterly exhausting. And not just because this week has been full of horrors, but because it is, what is it now, the 50th week or the 48th week since this all started up again on January 20th this year. And, you know, for those of us who've been paying attention, it's the 10th year of this. And the horrors don't only seem to get worse, they're cumulative. But we have to remember this. There are people who support Donald now who, behind the scenes, are horrified by him, who understand how depraved and deviant and unqualified and cruel and on and on and on he is. And they've had it, but they also have no guts. So they're just going to keep their mouths shut and let this play out. And then there are those people who just haven't woken up yet. Obviously, some never will, but others might. They might understand at some point how unseemly and how, quite frankly, embarrassing and how immature it is that a man who has the unfathomable amount of power Donald has still needs more. He needs his name on everything. He needs not just his face on a coin, he needs his face on both sides of a coin. That is how thirsty this pathetic excuse for a human being is. It is not going to last. He can slap his name on the 200, 250, 300, 350, $400 million ballroom. He can gold plate everything. He can put his name on the Kennedy Center. He can put his name on the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Memorial. He can put his name anywhere he wants to. Because, of course, the fashion Republican Party isn't going to stop him. But the second he's out, and he will be, the second he's out, all of that goes away. And here's the thing, and it's important for us to hang on to this too, even though it may not seem like the most important thing on the planet. Even as he is desecrating our cultural institutions and our whole country, nothing he does makes up for the fact that he's a miserable, lonely, unloved, and worthless human being. Nothing covers over the fact that on some level, he's aware of that. And it makes him utterly miserable and terrified. So there's that. Keep putting your name on stuff, Donald. It is not going to make you feel any better about what a tiny, pathetic little man you are. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's episode of Marry Trump Live. It is wonderful to have you here. Again, what a year this week has been. I am actually having, as you know, I usually have a difficult time keeping track of what day of the week it is because there's just so much going on constantly. But again, as I mentioned, the effects are cumulative, but it has also just been something of a week. And it started before the week started. The weekend was quite difficult to bear. But it's Thursday, which means that it's Epstein Files Eve, maybe. Now, we've seen Donald acting out a lot this week, which could mean many things, but one thing it could certainly also mean is that he's panicking a little bit because, again, tomorrow is the deadline for the Department of Justice to release the Epstein files. With that in mind, I want to take a look at some of the updates on this situation, and then I'm going to talk about what we could potentially expect from the DOJ and its potential release of anything. So today, the House Oversight Democrats released dozens of previously unseen photographs from Epstein's estate. This batch includes several pictures of the convicted rapist and sex trafficker of girls and young women with influential figures, some of whom we know about and others were not aware of. There are also images of, that's Noam Chomsky, by the way. There are also images of a redacted Ukrainian passport, text messages discussing the quote unquote sending of girls, and a photo of a woman's foot with a quote from Lolita, the novel by Vladimir Nabokov, which, as you may well know, has as its premise the sexual fascination of an older man of a 12-year-old girl. Epstein, being Epstein, named his plane the Lolita Express. So, what are we to make of the release of these pictures so shortly before the potential release of the files? Well, it suggests to me that the Dems are firing a shot across the bow because there's every single reason to believe that if the DOJ releases anything, it will be either skewed or so heavily redacted as to be useless as information. So today, the New York Times published an article tracing the years long, extremely close friendship between Donald and Jeffrey Epstein, Don's best friend, apparently. Their social lives were at times inextricably linked. They revolved around pursuing young women together in New York and Florida. The piece also says that once in the 90s, Epstein introduced himself to a beauty pageant contestant saying, quote, "I'm Jeffrey, I'm Don's best friend," unquote, to the extent that either one of those monsters is capable of friendship. But again, if friendship revolves around shared interests, well, we know what their shared interests were, and hopefully in the not too distant future, we will find out more about those. Because this is also important in the sense that it contradicts everything Donald has been saying in the last certainly few months and few years about Jeffrey Epstein. He claims that he barely knew him, that they had no relationship. This is so demonstrably false that it would be shocking to think that he believes he can get away with it, but then again, he gets away with everything. Fascinating, though, he seems not to be so sanguine about getting away with things anymore because he's worried. And again, I don't have any faith in Donald's Department of Justice to release any kind of information that may or may not be damning about him. But maybe the Democrats are sending a message that they might have some information of their own. DOJ be damned. Republicans announced that the House is going to break for recess a day early. I know that comes as a great shock as well. So they're not going to be in session when the files are set for release because House Speaker Mike Johnson is nothing if not a bootlicking coward. Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett weighed in on the scheduling change in an appearance on CNN. Let's take a look at what she had to say.
You know, we are supposed to be in session until Friday. The speaker, he loves to run when things get tough. That's not leadership, that's cowardice. And so that is what he's decided to do. We saw this happen when it came down to the Epstein files. He decided to send Congress out. Right now, we are supposed to be in until Friday. He has decided that our last day is going to be tomorrow because he does not want to deal with the fact that we have a ripe discharge petition that is sitting in front of him that could not only help our constituents, but help his.
Also, yesterday afternoon, the convicted Epstein associate, also rapist and sex trafficker of girls and young women, Ghislaine Maxwell, asked a federal court to throw out her conviction and prison sentence. Okay. I mean, I guess that's what she would do because she has never, ever taken responsibility for her actions. But that's her business. I'm sure she has very expensive lawyers who are laying out for her a potential path. But we can't stop asking ourselves this question. Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in prison. And this year, she was interviewed by Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, which is a highly unusual move in and of itself. Blanche interviewed Maxwell and her lawyer for 2 full days. She claimed that Donald had nothing to do with anything, but that again, she's also claimed that she had nothing to do with anything. So take that with several tons of salt. And very shortly after that meeting, she was transferred to a minimum security prison where we now know she has privileges that no other prison in that facility has. None. She has access to high profile visitors. She is allowed to have a puppy. She is given complete access to the gym where she is allowed to use by herself and on and on and on. A woman who was found guilty by a jury of her peers for the horrific crimes of sex trafficking girls and young women is being given special treatment by the Trump regime. Why? Why? We demand an answer to that question. We deserve an answer to that question. Why has that question stopped being asked? Especially in light of the fact that it is very, very likely that the DOJ doesn't have to wait till tomorrow to release the Epstein files. Donald could have ordered the release of those files on January 20th, 2025. In fact, he had 4 years between 2017 and 2021 to do just that. We had to go through this whole farce of having a handful of Republicans vote with Democrats to force a discharge position, to bring it to the House floor, to order the DOJ to release the files. At any moment along the way, Donald could have said, release the files. But he didn't. And we demand an answer to this question too. Why? If they contain no information that would be damning to you, if they exonerate you entirely, release them. If you're worried that some of your buddies might be implicated, redact their names. So, given all of the hoops that had to be jumped through in order to get to this point, I say once again, it is highly unlikely that this Department of Justice, which really serves the sole purpose of acting as Donald's defense attorney and retribution force, is going to release anything either that we don't already know or that will surprise us or implicate anybody, especially Donald. Today, because we are living in a time in which the most vulnerable among us are being attacked on a daily basis by the federal government, the Trump regime announced it's going to slash federal funding to hospitals that give transition-related care to trans youth. Yeah, we're talking about, first of all, trans people in this country comprise less than 1% of the population. So what tiny percentage of the population do we think are young people requiring transition-related care? On top of that, an official for Health and Human Services said new rules are being laid out to prohibit puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and surgeries to minors who use Medicare and Medicaid. According to NBC News, HHS's Office for Civil Rights also proposed a revision to Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, which prohibits discrimination in federally funded programs to clarify that the definitions of disability exclude gender dysphoria that does not result from physical impairments, unquote. These proposals need to go through a lengthy rulemaking process and will likely face legal pushback, which hopefully will slow the horrors down. Civil rights attorney and Harvard professor Alejandro Carabello spoke to PBS about the Trump regime's infringements on trans rights. Watch this.
I think it's incredibly troubling, especially with the kinds of moves that it has made for the trans community to even live our lives, to even access healthcare, to even access housing, or to even work without discrimination. But I think the Trump administration really, I think they're overplaying their hand, and I think a lot of the Republican Party overlearned the lesson from 2024, where their economic populism was able to win over swing voters, and they attributed it to anti-trans politics because it failed in Virginia and it failed in New Jersey. Winsome Earl Sears spent over 50% of her ad spending, according to Notice, on anti-trans ads, and she lost by, I think, almost...
this was in the governor's race.
Yeah, by over 15 percentage points, and those were some extremely heinous anti-trans ads. And it just failed to materialize as any sort of impact on electoral politics, because at the end of the day, people want to hear about things that actually affect their day-to-day lives, and trans people just doesn't register for them, for better or for worse, when it comes to our issues in terms of like our access to healthcare and all of those other things.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that, electorally it may indeed be, or hopefully is, a losing issue for Republicans. But in some ways, though, that's not the point. Because what we're talking about is not just denying healthcare, we're talking about a form of torture. The same barbarity behind conversion therapy, which is the bogus therapy that tries to make gay children straight again, as if they're not born gay. That same kind of barbarity is what drives the cruelty behind withholding gender affirming care or transition care. So yeah, hopefully it's a losing issue electorally, but in the meantime, the most vulnerable community in our country is constantly being assaulted, including children. And that puts their lives at great risk, because the bottom line is that what the Trump regime is telling people who are listening to them, is that trans people have no right to exist. And that is a very, very slippery slope. Speaking of barbarity and cruelty, as you know, the Republican Party refuses to extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies, and Donald certainly isn't going to do anything about that, which means that at the beginning of the year, those subsidies will end. And for millions of Americans, healthcare will be 2 to 3 to 4 times more expensive than it is now. And for millions more, it will render healthcare entirely unaffordable. This will be devastating to individuals, to families, and to, quite frankly, our economy. 4 Republicans actually voted with Democrats to force Mike Johnson to bring this issue to the floor to be voted on by the entire House. In other words, Johnson was not allowing the extension of the subsidies to be brought for vote. So enough people, including 4 Republicans, are now forcing Johnson's hand. But as we now know, Congress isn't in session anymore. He left town, and now the the House is on vacation until well into the new year. So regardless of how that vote pans out, when it's ever held, the Affordable Care Act subsidies are going to expire anyway. So thanks, guys. All right. We were talking earlier about the fact it feels like it's Sunday because it feels like tomorrow is going to be Monday. Maybe it's just that every day feels like Monday now. I don't really know. Whatever the case, we need to breathe. Quite frankly, it's like another one of those days I feel like I haven't taken a full deep breath yet. So let's do that. And thankfully, it is time for not just our emotional support moment, but one of my favorite kinds of support. You know what I'm trying to say? My God, I should just say ESM. We are going to go to the Great Barrier Reef, and we're going to watch a bunch of humpback whales swimming, gliding, breaching, doing all of those extraordinary things that humpback whales do, reminding us that there is tremendous beauty in this world. And of course, there is always, always hope. Enjoy. That's better. All right, let us get to your questions, comments, etc. Mighty Cheryl kicking us off. Thank you as always for gifting one Mary Trump Media membership and the much and always anticipated Mighty Cheryl twofer. Thank you. Comment, maybe the Trump Kennedy Center honors you, Mary. I'm sure that's exactly what Donald had in mind. I wish I don't even know if I could paraphrase it, but John F. Kennedy, the president, not Foghorn Leghorn senator guy, has some really quite beautiful quotes about the arts and what they mean to this country, and a couple of them are actually engraved on the side of the Kennedy Center, and let's put it this way, it was great having presidents who actually care about such things. Oh, well, someday. Ethan gifted one Mary Trump Media membership. Thank you so much for that. RSS 8363 comment, Donald is going to paint everything gold at the Kennedy Center. Yeah, if he hasn't already. Gold plated, obviously. Joe Colorado, this is a we missed you fee. Oh, that's right. I was out last night. That I forgot. Yeah. Well, thank you. We could put that in the swear jar if you like. You know, the eponymous Joe Colorado swear jar. It's fungible. In the middle of nowhere. Thank you so much. As always, comment. Had a many and petty today. Oh, very lovely. I hope it was relaxing and I don't know if it could be as relaxing as watching humpback whales, but I hope it was, relaxing. Was enjoying the escape when on TV in between Christmas songs was a misleading ad that described Hamas atrocities and then stated that if you support Palestinians, you support those atrocities. Appalling. Well, that's not relaxing. There should be a rule at like spas that they can't have TV on at all, quite frankly. Like I personally prefer I don't know, like spa music in the background. Wow, I'm sorry. And that is appalling. I don't know what's wrong with people. My God. Brigid, thank you so very much. Comment, last night's Abe Simpson yelling at Cloud swear jar fee. Cool. I like that. It tracks, Jen is a new member. Thank you so much, Jen, and welcome. Susan, thank you so much. As always, gifted 5 Mary Trump Media memberships. Fantastic. Diana, thank you very much for that comment. Let's stay strong and hold the course. Thank you, Mary, for keeping things in perspective. Well, thank you guys. I mean, honestly, we do this in large part because you're all so awesome. So thanks. Nanner 3200. Wow. Thank you as always for your generosity. Gifted 5 Mary Trump Media memberships. And Ghostlayer 59. Thank you so very much for that. Comment, hey, Mary, great chat with Waj today. Looking forward to Joe's Vance tomorrow. The Good in Us. And that is the link to our Substack. Yeah, just so you guys know, I'm trying to do these every day. Definitely starting the new year. This is probably going to be a daily thing. So over on Substack, you can do live videos, and a lot of times that can be with a guest. So Tuesday, who did I interview on See, it's been a really long week. I don't remember. But today I interviewed our very own Waj Ali, friend and fellow nerd adventurer. Tomorrow, my friend and awesome human Joyce Vance is going to be with me. Oh my goodness, how can I forget? My awesome friend and the amazing Katie Fang is who I interviewed on Tuesday. And on Monday, another friend of mine, the great Ruth Bendigiat. So you can check those out live on Substack. If you just become a free subscriber, you'll be alerted. But also, we're going to post those videos on YouTube as well. So just check them out. It's really nice because it's very casual. So it's much more like a conversation than an interview. So Ghostlayer59, thank you for pointing that out. Frown Huffs comment, I didn't know it was called the Lolita Express. Yeah. That was a sick twist, that Epstein. Yeah. Jackie6035 comment, we can thank Taco Supreme John Roberts Court for this mess. Yes, we can. John Roberts Court, the corrupt, illegitimate supermajority of the court, and let us not forget Mitch McConnell. Jillon, yep, Mike Johnson is a gutless wonder. Yes, and a holier than thou fake Christian. Diane has been a member for 6 months. That's phenomenal. Comment, happy holidays to everyone, whichever you celebrate, or if you don't, happy last few weeks of the year. Exactly. Yeah, we don't need to be celebrated a specific holiday to be grateful that 2025 is, it's not bad though. It's return of the page. It's been a year. I mean, in some ways, it's been an absolutely phenomenal, fantastic, and wonderful year. But then there's all this world stuff. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. In the middle of nowhere, thank you again. Comment, donation to our own JC swear jar. And that JC stands for Joe Colorado. Broken all broken. Comment, I'm very tired of people who aren't doctors making medical policy. Yes, this should not be allowed to happen. So Democrats, when you get back into power, codify everything, pass laws about everything. And somebody might be saying, well, yeah, but what good does that do? They renamed the Department of Defense the Department of War. They're renaming the Kennedy Center. They're going to put his hideous face on. They're going to put his face not just once, but twice on a coin. None of that's legal. So what difference do laws make? Well, you know what? If if breaking the law has no consequence, yeah. So add some consequences, please. Shouldn't be that complicated. Joe Colorado, thank you again. Quote, there be whales, Captain. Unquote. Yes, that is Scotty in the movie Star Trek 4, which is one of my favorites. And actually, Bob Seska and I are going to be talking about Star Trek 4. It might be our very first episode of the new year. I'm not sure. I think it might be. I'll keep you posted. But just so you're aware, we have Trek Politics episodes happening every Sunday through the end of this year. So this one coming up, we discuss the episode Arena. So watch that. And the week after that, it's going to be the episode The Empath. And our last episode of 2025 is going to be Bob and I talking about our top 3 favorite, not the episodes we think are the best ones, but our top 3 favorite episodes that we most enjoy and love to rewatch of the original series. I have 2 picked out already. I'm still debating the third. It's going to be exciting. Basically, Bob and I are going to throw down. That's what's going to happen. Neuropilot 1 is a new member. Thank you so much for that. It's awesome to have you here. Richard, thank you as always. Comment, and now we have Diet Hunger Games. I'm so tired. Yeah, I don't know what you're referring to specifically, but it's probably bad. Because that's kind of the way it goes. Alyssa, thank you very much for that. Kardak Magnificent and his new avatar. Thank you very, very much. Comment, no smartass comments available, so I'll just give you money fee. That works. That works. Although, the smartass comments are always welcome. Sorry, must hydrate quickly. Susan, thank you again. Comment, the Mary Trump Media merch store is now open. Oh, yes, it is. Check it out. That's shop.marytrumpmedia.com. We have shirts that have our catchphrase, Mary Trump Media, where fake news goes to die. They're very cool. We have an I read bad books t-shirt, tote bag. We have sweatshirts. We have a Mary Trump Media don't vote for fascist t-shirt. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. We've got some really cool kindness equals strength ornaments. Whole bunch of stuff for you guys to check out. Seriously, t-shirts, sweatshirts, tote bags, ornaments. It's awesome. And more stuff is coming. And it's the holidays for some of us. So, Artist, Stephanie, thank you very much. It's very generous of you. Comment, my facial therapist came into my room to tell me that my Senator Wellstone had died. What the fuck? Yeah, Paul Wellstone, that was a long time ago. And that was a horrible, horrible, horrible thing. He was, from everything I've heard, Paul Wellstone was a quite extraordinary human and a great senator. So, yeah, I don't even remember how long ago that was, but it was a very long time. Frownhouse, thank you again. And your comment, thank you as always, Mary. My pleasure. Truly appreciate your all being here. Jenna, thank you as always. Comment, this year has felt like one long month. I like to call it Helluary. That does not roll trippingly off the tongue, but it just could be because I'm not saying it right. But yes, hell. Basically. Yeah, it's been a long one. Susan, thank you again, but providing the essential service of comment refilling the Joe Colorado swear jar because it's always on empty for obvious reasons. Although I don't think I swore tonight. That might be a record. Anyway, the comment continues. Donald's announcement of the Patriot Games friggin' made me angry. Hunger Games vibes. Hell no. Oh, I clearly missed something. What? And all right, if we're going to have Diet Hunger Games or whatever the hell he's doing, or some kind of MMA ultimate fighting thing, $10, he's going to be holding them at the Trump Kennedy Center. But it's not going to be called the Trump Kennedy Center, is it? No. Because that wouldn't be enough to feed his pathetic, pathetic black hole of need. Frownhouse again, you're on a tear. Thank you. Comment, Trek Nerdfee. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, you want to talk Trek Nerds? Check out the episode that's happening not this Sunday, but the Sunday after, about the empath. Oh, my word. That one, Katie, 3428, comment. So, question, sorry. So how is this not little Mikey deciding for the whole country whether people get health care or not? How can he have that much power? It is unfathomable to me that this one person can just decide not to do anything. Remember, it took 7 weeks before Alida Grijalva was sworn in because she was a Democrat who cut into his very narrow majority. Meanwhile, a Republican was elected during a special election a couple of weeks ago, and he was sworn in the next day. It's despicable. So much to fix, but let's keep track. So when Democrats get back in, we can give them their marching orders. Violet Strummer, thank you very, very much. Question, have you been following Dr. Avalob? Threat Atlas shows at least 15 indicators that might be there might be technology, not a comet. Very interesting. Clearly, I haven't, but I will check it out because that sounds like astronomy, and I want to know what we're talking about. So I will definitely check that out. Thank you. Rick MO1, thank you very, very much. It's very generous of you. Comment, 3 more days and more daylight begins slowly. Winter solstice and 1 more subscriber makes 500,000. Am I seeing that correctly? I don't know. I stopped checking because YouTube hates us. But still, that would be completely awesome. So thank you, Rick, for pointing that out. We're absolutely going to check. And yes, it is almost the winter solstice, which does indeed mean that every day we're going to get a little bit more daylight, which I think we really need, both metaphorically and literally. Rhonda gifted 1 Mary Trump Media membership. Thank you so very much for that. And Susan Thompson, again. Thank you, truly. Comment: 1 girl, 1 boy from every state and territory for 4 days in athletic games in Washington, D.C. is the Patriot Games? What? Hunger Games vibe. I don't, you know what? Okay. This is the problem. I mean, I have so many problems with that, of course. But, bread and circuses and all. Let's bring back gladiators. The right has long complained that the people on the left are elitist snobs who are trying to shove their cultural preferences down their throats. I never saw it that way, quite frankly. I think that there are spaces where, a certain amount of dignity and decorum and respect and formality are required. But if you like to go to the opera, if you like to go to NASCAR, if you like monster trucks or you like Broadway musicals, I don't care. I don't care. Whatever makes you happy. Whatever, I mean, I'd like to think that we all do things that sort of broaden our perspectives and our horizons and make us better people. But knock yourself out. I mean, yes, I love opera and I love reading, classical fiction and stuff like that. But I also love mindless television and murder mysteries and whatever. I mean, we can do both. But what they're trying to do now is they're not just trying to force their preferences down our throats. Everything has to be MMA and NASCAR all the time. They're trying to do that in spaces where it shouldn't happen. The White House, the Kennedy Center, etc. It's disgusting and it's hypocritical. And I'm so heartily tired of it. It demeans all of us. It makes us less. It makes us ignorant. It sets a really bad tone and sends a terrible message. And I am heartily sick of it. So, anyway. 2026 is going to be wild. So, you guys, seriously, in the next couple of weeks, chill out, take as much of a break as you can, unplug, whatever you need to do, breathe, watch videos of humpback whales or sea turtles or what have you. Because we really need to take care of ourselves because again, next year is going to be quite something. Okay, so thank you to everybody who has been watching on YouTube, streaming on Twitter, and the Good in Us. Everybody listening to the podcast. What's more to thank? Our new members, everybody gifting new memberships, all of our phenomenal super stickers and people donating to our Mary Trump Media. We truly, truly, truly appreciate it. You guys, it really matters. So honestly, our moderators for being such amazing humans and doing such a great job. Just in terms of supporting us, the simplest thing to do is subscribe to our channel. Yeah, let's get over 500,000. Why not? That'd be nice. I'd say our next goal is 1 million, but I think actually our next goal is going to have to be 500,001. That's okay. We'll get there. The second easiest way to support us is to watch our pre-recorded videos. They drop every single day, 7 days a week. Like them, first watch them, and then like them and share them, comment on them. That helps with the algorithm as well. And again, checking out the Mary Trump Media merch store, buy some cool t-shirts for your friends, for yourselves, for your enemies, whatever. All of that is tremendously helpful to us. You can also check out our YouTube paid subscription levels. We have extra content for you guys as well. And finally, I just want to thank my absolutely amazing team, without whom I would not be able to do this. So thanks, guys. Truly appreciate it. And we're this close. So have an amazing night, everybody. I will see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern for another episode of Mary Trump Live. In the meantime, everybody, please stay safe and be kind. Bye.